Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings. This is Raisa Kiwala, the divorced Muslim coach. And before I move on and go forward, I want to just say bear with me. I know my voice is really hoarse. I've been kind of struggling with the cold for the last 3 days and traveling, but I'm feeling a lot better today, alhamdulillah. But I guess it doesn't sound that way for my voice, so bear with me. I hope you can hear me well and I can communicate well with you. So today we are on day 1 of our challenge of this journey together this week of successfully sharing your children with your ex. There's a lot loaded in here because it's not just, there's so many moving parts. There's mom, there's dad, there's children. So there's a lot going on, but we're going to kind of break it down and layer it, because life and people are about layers. So we're going to layer it and we'll go through all the different areas. Assalamu alaikum, Aisha, good to see you. If you're joining, just come and give me your salams and say hi. And I'm going to give you the lowdown of how we're going to do this. We're going to give a few minutes for everybody to hop on and join, and then I will take all of your questions and comments. Please just post them in the video as we're going, and I will address them all at the end and answer them all and go through all of them at the end, where I'll do it all at once before I close. So I'm going to go through the topic. I'll give a little introduction, and then we'll go right into the subject matter for today. And then we will go through a few reflection questions, and then I will address all questions or concerns, and we can chat at the end. And then what I would suggest is, before you start this journey, to really set an intention for yourself. Why you're doing this? What are you looking for in your life? What do you want different? How do you want things to change? Hey Nida, assalamu alaikum, good to see you. And once I get started in the topic, even if you're joining, I may not say hi or salam to you just to keep focused, but I see you all. I see your waves and your salams and your comments, and I will address all of them at the end. And so I would really, number one is think about your intention for today, why you're here, how you want to move forward, how you want to make this the best possible outcome for your child, whether you're going through divorce or you've gone through it, or you're struggling with it and you want to know how to support your children, how they can still be okay even after going through divorce and the separation of their parents. Number 2 is I would suggest also getting a journal or notepad so you can write up what comes up for you, because you're going to be hearing things, you're going to be reflecting on yourself, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come to the surface that you can explore for yourself, because it's going to help you with your growth. It's going to help you to move forward in your own journey, and all of us are at different places on our own journey. So I want to honor that. Just grab a drink. So before I get into the topic of today, which is going to be mindset and language, my children, your children, our children. That's going to be our topic for today. But before we get into that topic, I want to just give a little bit of background. If you haven't seen any of the videos that I've been doing up until today, I want to give a little bit of background on why we're doing this, bring you some perspective from my journey into why we're doing this. What is our end goal? What's the end goal of sharing our children with our ex? You might be thinking, if I don't have to deal with them anymore, that will be the best thing. Good riddance, goodbye. I'm not spending another moment, another ounce of my time or energy on that man. I'm done. Those could be things that are going through your mind. Well, it's permissible to walk away from a marriage that is not healthy, that doesn't work, to close out and end a marriage. But it's not permissible to walk away from our responsibility of the parental role. It's an obligation and a trust. And I know it's not easy dealing with the person that you have such high conflict with, or someone that you're ending a relationship with. and forging a new parental relationship that is mindful, that is respectful, with someone that you really want nothing to do with, and that's why you're leaving this marriage, or the marriage has ended, regardless of who ended it. And so we have to be able to see and separate the marital role and the parental role, that they're two different roles. Whereas during the marriage, it's very normal to have it all blended into one. Being a wife and a mother, all blended into one, as a unit, as a family. And so things are going to start changing. Dynamics are going to change. The way the family structure is set up is going to be changed, because you're going to have two different homes. You're not going to have everything under one unit. It's going to be two. So it's going to require some work, some effort and consciousness into separating the marital role and the parental role, and not allowing the marital role to contaminate the parental role, because there's lots of big feelings in relationships. A husband, wife, man and woman relationship is very different than parent and child. We all know that. So we don't want things from the marriage to contaminate the parent and child relationship, which is that of a lot of innocence, right, from our children. And so as former spouses to each other, we each are going to have to find new ways of relating with each other and our children, while simultaneously setting up new patterns of behavior and ways of relating to each other and behavior with each other. How you behaved with somebody that you were married to is going to be very different than how you behave with them when you're no longer married to them. So, and I'm talking about each person, but really we only have control, and we're going to focus on ourselves. We can't control, dictate, force the other parent to do what we think they should be doing. So it's not about blame here. It's about personal responsibility, taking ownership of how you want this to move forward. And I know that there's not that many role models in this area, especially for our Muslim community. And going through divorce myself, having a divorce coach who was not Muslim, I see that there's a lot of support out there for people who are not Muslim, for non-Muslims, whether they're faith-based or not faith-based. But we need help in this scenario, and we need good role models of how to do it the right way with minimum harm to our children and to each other. So end goal is who is going to benefit. It's our children, right? So Allah has chosen both you as a mother and your child's father, a mother and a father for your children who belong to Allah. Your children are servants and creation of Allah. They are a blessing and a gift that's been entrusted to you as a mother and a father by Allah. So the parents are both blessed with these children as a trust, right? And they are completely innocent in this divorce and have nothing to do with our issues in the marriage. And they deserve and are entitled to the two parents, mom and dad, that Allah has chosen for them, has assigned to them for their whole healthy development. So all of this conflict and this ending of the whole family unit is not fair to them. And so when parents are divorcing each other, they're not divorcing their children. So now here we go forward. As mature, responsible parents, we don't get to separate the parent from the child. Mom and child, dad and child. And we're women here. We're mothers in this group. So I'm going to be talking to you as mothers, and that's who I work with women in relation to your child and their father. But it can happen both ways, and I've seen it both ways, where dads alienate and separate children from their mother. And women can do the same thing, separate children from their father. Children need both mom and dad. I'm talking about in non-abusive, verbally, emotionally, mentally, and physically situations. So here we go. Day one, we're starting right now in terms of our language and our mindset. Your children, my children, our children. So language and the way that you're thinking about this situation, about the divorce, about your children matters. It matters because how you speak, it matters because it's going to affect how you speak. It's going to affect your actions, how you behave. Because when you are speaking to your child about their other half, because the child is made up of, cut me down, like let's say I'm down half. Half is mom, half is dad. So to the child, when you're speaking to the child, you know, it's when you say anything negative about their dad, it's like saying negative about half of them. It's hurting half of them, even though you may be in pain and you may be lashing out. But what you're saying, if it's coming out in front of the child, it's hurting the child. It is not hurting the other parent. They don't hear it, they don't see it, and they're not hurt by it. The hurt and the damage is happening to the child. So that's why our language and our mindset is so important in how we communicate with our child, and then how we communicate with our ex. So let's say, you know, for example, I want to really share with you, for you to get conscious in what, how you are talking to your your child's parent about the children that you share. These children come from mom and dad, right? They didn't come from solely you, and they don't come from solely him. And I want to really touch upon a lot of moms. We feel like because we carried them and we bore them and we gave birth to them, and we know the importance of motherhood and of a mother's position that Allah has gifted to us, we think we have more rights over them. But a child needs both for whole, healthy development, emotional resilience, and success. So, you know, when I was going through my divorce process, I would say, when I was talking to their dad about what needed to get done, about their education or about their health or about scheduling, sharing time together, about custody, anything that had to do with them, you know, when I was in a good place, I would say the kids, or our kids, or I would call them by name, and we're talking about individual. But when I felt that I was in the right and he was in the wrong, I would exclude him by saying my kids, you know. And this was a subconscious thing. I didn't realize it until my divorce coach pointed it out to me, that, you know, let's talk about our kids, because we're trying to do the best for them, even though maybe we're in a really, really rotten place in our relationship. But we as the adults, we have to take care of them. So I would say things like, you know, my kids don't do this when they're with me, you know. And that became all about, the undertone became about blame and about shame and about pointing out what he's not doing and what I am doing. It became a competition. So understanding your language, your own language, and where it comes from, your subconscious thinking of how you're really thinking about the scenario and the situation is really important. And you know, I was subconsciously excluding their dad from the picture by saying my children. And because I wanted nothing to do with him, because of the blame, because of the pain and the hurt that I was feeling. And I would think, I'm their mother, you know, I have more rights, I have a higher status with them from Allah. All these justifications in my mind would allow me to say what I was saying, would allow my language to be reflected in a certain way, because they would enable me. I felt justified in saying my kids. And for me, in my mind, I was compartmentalizing me and kids equals family. Dad is not part of this family. Well, guess what? For the child, family is mom and dad. Even though they're having two units now, mom and child in one home, and dad and children in one home. Your child is going from having one family into two, split up into two families, the same people, but in two different dynamics, two different homes. So excluding the child, excluding the other parent from the child's vocabulary or the child's perception hurts the child. Just because the child is really is made up of both half mom and half dad. So the family is the same, you just have restructured dynamics. Or I would say to their dad, your kids. And I would say that when I felt that he wasn't owning up to his responsibilities, he wasn't doing enough, he wasn't caring enough. I was having all of these judgments about what he should be doing, what he's doing, what he's not doing. A lot of blame again there under the undertone. When I felt like he was at fault for the current situation about what was happening with me and him. How if things were not going the way I felt with me and him in our relationship and how we were ending the marriage, I would say your kids, like you're not doing enough or you're at fault. My relationship as a spouse with him was getting blurred into the relationship as just, co-parents. And it would be projected onto my language, then it would be projected onto my energy, it'd be projected onto my children and the behavior. And look, in this situation, his responsibilities towards me were changing. So the responsibilities of the spouses are changing towards each other. You no longer have those when you're no longer married, right? That you had when you were spouses, but not towards the kids. You each have a responsibility towards the kids. So I want you to really think about, have you thought about how you speak to your children, how you speak to your ex about the children that you share? Do you say my kids? Do you say your kids? Or do you say our kids? This is an opportunity to pay attention to your language. It's an opportunity to pay attention to your mindset and what are the underlying feelings of your language. And because you have control over how you speak. Look, even if my ex is still saying the same things, how I show up matters. I'm responsible for my thinking and my actions and my speaking. I have control over that. I don't have control over him, and it's not my goal to try to control him and try to force him to do this or to do that. That can change based on his own awareness, but what matters is how I show up, because I'm bringing something to my children. I'm responsible in my parenting to my children. And I want to throw in here a long game. Children pay attention. Children realize. Children know. It may not happen, even for myself. It may not happen this year, 2 years, 5 years, but 10 years down the line, they're going to get it. They're going to get the big picture. Right now, it's, their mind is not capable of wrapping their head around the bigger picture. They just see the here and now right now. So you're responsible. Each one of us is responsible for what we bring to the table. And so I want you to think about how you talk to your ex, how you talk to your children about their dad. How do you feel about it? Because in the beginning, I was really resistant, like not even wanting to acknowledge him as a parent of my children, because I felt like then I had to acknowledge things about him as a spouse. But you have to be able to acknowledge him as part of your child. How could you acknowledge your child and validate your child without acknowledging that he's half your ex? That's the real truth. And so as you become conscious of your language, you're going to become more conscious of your feelings and what's coming up for you on the surface. And I want you to write this down in your journal. What comes up for you for the surface when you say our, when you say my, when you say yours. Because there's no you and him anymore in a relationship as a couple. But so it's normal for the feelings from the marriage to come up, but and that could trigger you when you say our, and you may get defensive about sharing. So you being aware of your own feelings is going to help you in this journey, because everyone's in a different place. Everyone's on a different place in their own journey forward. So being aware of your own self is going to allow you to know better, to do better, and to make things better for your child and be able to help them. So that is the reflection for the day, is to think about your languaging. How are you talking to your children and your ex about the children that you share? My, your, 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 my yours and ours. See what feelings come up for you when you say it differently, and write them down. Explore them. Understand yourself. Know yourself so you can do better. And I want you to share here in the comments. This is a safe space. It's a private group. It's between me and the people who are in this group. And I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you with your own feelings, because it can feel hard to even sit with them. They can hurt. They can feel very uncomfortable. You just want to push them aside and not even think about it. But guess what? That's not going to solve the problem. So I want to help you through this. Share what's coming up for you. Share any questions that you have, and we'll address them here. Let me see what's here. I see Aisha and Nida and Sarah are on. So assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining. And let me know what came up for you, and I will support you on this journey. So that's it for today, for day 1. And I'll check back later on during the day and touch base with you, see what has come up. Because once you go and sit in a quiet place and answer these questions for yourself, a lot will come up. It'll be different for everyone. And so share. I encourage you to share here. If you're not feeling as comfortable to do that, message me, send me a message privately, and I can address the topic without giving your name in the group. And I really want to encourage you to engage, because the more listen, what you're feeling or what you're going through, I guarantee you that there's somebody else going through it as well. So you're not alone, and you're not the only one. So when you engage, then you also help other people to come forward who are going through the same thing. And you'll realize and you'll recognize that you're not alone, and you're not crazy, and nothing's wrong with you for feeling or thinking a certain way. It's okay. All of it's okay. So Aisha is saying, what should we say when the kids ask why dad is not with us in the same house? Well, that's a great question. And I think that give yourself some time to think about what you're going to say. And I think the children deserve the truth. They need to know. There's so many things going on for them when they see one parent is not there, when they see that one parent is missing, because their fear is abandonment. Their fear is, I did something wrong. I'm not worthy. I don't deserve for this parent to stick around, for this parent to be involved in my life. That is what is going through a child's mind. They blame themselves. They feel they're not worthy and valued enough for a parent to stay. That, just those two things last a lifetime. They get it is brought into everything. Feeling enough, feeling worthy enough, feeling valued. So always speak the truth and tell your child the truth at a level a child could understand. So for example, you could say, look, Mom and Dad are going through some hard things right now. We're trying to work through and see what is going to be best for our family. Mom and Dad both love you, and this has nothing to do with our relationship with you. You are our child, and we will love you unconditionally and be here for you. And you are very important to us. You are the most important thing to us. Look, our relationship is changing, and when you know, because you may be working things out yourself, but tell them what you know. We are going to share things with you as we know, because we're trying to work together and come up with a plan that's going to work for our family. I want you to feel comfortable and safe to come to me and ask me any question, and I will answer. I will tell you the truth. I will not lie to you. I will not hide things from you. But reassure your child that even if your dad is not living in this home, and even if your mom and dad are not married, it does not change the fact that he's still your dad, I'm still your mom, and that relationship will be there for life, and we will be there for you as a mother and a father for life. And if you can't speak for the other parent, or you haven't been in a situation where you have talked it over and you have decided this is what we're going to tell our children, and you have come to the place where you've had communication and say, okay, look, our marriage is ending, but let's talk about custody. Let's talk about living arrangements. If you haven't, or you haven't gotten there, you can say, look, I don't know about your dad, but I do know that he loves you. He wants you, but we're trying to figure out what's going to be working for best. Do you miss your dad? Acknowledge their feelings and know that I know it's hard for you. You can say, I know it's hard for you to not see him, to not be with him. You miss him. And you know, he loves you and he misses you. And we're going to try to figure out a way that we can work this out. And I'm going to tell you along the way, things like that. And acknowledge that your child needs to feel validated and loved by the other parent to feel whole. Because remember, they're half dad, right? So it has nothing to do with you. So if the child is feeling affectionate, missing the other parent, don't think that it takes anything away from you. The child needs that. It has nothing to do with you. You have your own place. You have your own value and space and position with your child. Doesn't change when the child feels like they need dad. It's not one or the other. The child should never have to choose mom or dad because they can. It's like shutting or cutting half of them off to choose the other half. It's a very difficult, full of turmoil place to be in. I hope that answers your question, Aisha. If it didn't, tell me what it didn't answer, and tell me that if it was helpful and if it was beneficial. Honestly, in my own family, I have people in my own family where sometimes this can happen. Sometimes in a family where people are married, one parent might have to leave their home and go work. Okay, good, alhamdulillah. Go and work in a different city, in a different state. And I see that in my own family. And even though the marriage is intact, but they're not ending the marriage, but the parent has to leave. That's scary for a child too. The child just feels like the parent is not there, is MIA. But even though, you could do nightly, here's another tip. You could do nightly calls with the dad, and you have to set that up as a parent. Hey, and keep it strictly professional. We're going to go into this in another day, how to communicate. Keep it strictly professional. So-and-so is missing you. They'd like to talk to you. Set up nightly talks, FaceTime, video, and let the child just be alone with the dad. And that is, something that we'll go more into detail with as we progress in this challenge. But, there's ways to help our children through this, for them to know they're not being abandoned. They're not alone. They are worthy and good enough to be loved and appreciated and accepted and validated and acknowledged by their foundation. This is what is going to raise them and allow them to get nourished and nurtured as a whole healthy individual, so they can go out into the world and fulfill their purpose and their potential. So we as parents can still do that, whether we're married or not. And that is my goal here. Even in that, that happened in my family, where my kid's dad was traveling, and he was working in a different state initially when even before our marriage ended, and then even into our marriage ended, and it changed and shifted for my kids, because now that we were getting divorced, they felt like it was their fault. They felt that they were being abandoned, and they needed a lot of reassurance, and they needed verbally and in my actions. So when I was feeling angry and upset with him and hurt with him as a spouse regarding the marriage, there were times where I didn't want him to talk to them. There were times where I was avoiding phone calls, and I felt justified in keeping them from talking to their dad. It was really blurred, and I'm not proud of it, and I regret it. But I'm sharing this with you because I want you to be able to do your best. I want you to be aware of this. I didn't see or know until I got help from my own divorce coach. I didn't see or know that I was doing this and how it was affecting my children, and I had control over this part. So many things to share. I'm glad that it was helpful for you, Aisha, and anything else that comes up, because this will sit with you for the day, for the week. It will sit with you, and more things will come up for yourself. So as they do come up, pop up, leave me a comment, leave me a question. I will answer it here for the benefit of everyone. If you want to private message me, you can as well. So thank you guys for joining and for your questions, and for your engagement. And I honor you, and I value you, and I appreciate you for showing up for yourself and showing up for your children. And may Allah reward you for that. I know it's not easy. So I'm going to sign off now, and I will come back and look at other questions here. And then tomorrow we're going to be here again at the same time, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard. I'm going to go live again. And our topic for day 2 is going to be self-compassion, me time. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the thumbs up. I love you, appreciate you, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum.